Hi folks, you're with Tassless today. Tassless today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the case in Britain and the United Kingdom, the UK, about a politician, and he's the only politician I'm aware of, at least, he's the only politician in the British Federal Parliament that supports, and openly so, supports mass deportation. And if you look at the amount of illegals, including like visa overstays, false asylum seeker claims, and false refugee claims, and so on, you're talking a few million people in the UK that need to be, in my view, need to be deported. And this particular politician, Rupert Lowe, believes approximately the same, as I understand it. But either way, he's in favour of mass deportation of these illegals and fake claimants and so on. So now, for some reason, the globalists have very successfully penetrated and taken over the entire British political establishment, so that really, there's no politician that's prepared to say they support mass deportation. They talk tough about tightening up the migration rules, or demanding better English, but they never do anything, and the numbers coming into the UK just keep on increasing. Under the globalists' direction, Britain is no longer a sovereign nation. The politicians there don't work for the people anymore, and haven't for over 25 years. So they're just the politicians are just employ fetch and carry flunkies for the globalists, and nothing more than that. However, this particular politician, Mr. Lowe, Lowe, was elected to Parliament, and he's in favour of mass deportation. So he started to get quite a following. He was doing the rounds on the talk shows and the news stations, and he's starting to get quite a following. Now, at the time when his message was starting to get through, and people were saying, well, good, there's somebody who represents British voters, here at last, someone who represents our concerns and listens to our concerns about mass migration, the arrival of millions of illiterate third world peasants coming into Britain. We don't want it. We never voted for it. We never agreed to it. So his message is starting to cut through, and he's increasingly seen as a rallying point for again, mass deportation and proper immigration controls. Now, the immigration controls, again, as I understand it, he wants to institute a perfectly reasonable that immigration, if you want to immigrate to the UK, you have to speak good English, you have to have the skills, the qualifications, the credentials, and so on. You have to add value to the economy in areas where there may be a skills shortage or something like that. So his positions are eminently sensible in my view, but nonetheless, he's a threat to the globalist establishment. He's a threat to the mass migration lobby, and so on and so forth. So they have to take him out. They have to somehow but how do you give him? He's sort of a clean living guy, and he's the normal sort of things that they could get him on. Like, does he visit prostitutes, or is he stealing money from grandmothers on the corner? The normal methods and ways they would have of getting to somebody, fraud and sexual peccadillos of some sort. He's not really in that space, as I understand it. So what can they do? How do you get at somebody like that? It's not easy. He's not the sort of guy that seems to fiddle his expense account. And if it was, it would be for low-end nickels and dimes. So the only other thing you can really use to get him is he somehow mistreated women. They've already checked. Does he have a swastika in the house? Nah, we can't do that one. So somehow women who work for the political party, the Reform Party, or women that supposedly work in his office, whether they're employed directly by him or employed by the party or employed by the Parliament, as in an overall sort of administrative, but I'm not exactly sure on that. Even so, there are women around him, and they have come forward saying that he's bullying and harassing them. certainly from what I've seen, there's no claims of sexual harassment. There's just some form of bullying that seems rather vague. One woman is complaining that she wasn't treated as if she was an intelligent person. I mean, is that a crime now? Can you bring that forward and get a national headline in the media over this? Can you get your police to come and get involved in this? Do you get heavyweight lawyers to come in and take depositions? I wasn't being treated with enough respect because, what? What's happening here? But this is the practice. You've mistreated women somehow, and so this is now. This is a widespread thing, particularly since Me Too and this idea women everywhere are being oppressed by evil men and equity and equality and gender quotas and all this sort of stuff. This idea that there's this there are these misogynist, Nazi, patriarchal Hitlers everywhere, just everywhere, and they're under every bed, in every closet, under every desk. They're in every office. They're hiding in the plant pots, and so they're everywhere. These misogynistic Hitler Nazis, and so so when they're uncovered and pointed out, well, everyone knows that there are misogynists everywhere. Now, so this is the real go-to, and I've in the corporate world, I've seen it used 100 times, and it's a real go-to. And now the initial go-to, so the boys, the boys downtown decide they don't like Billy Bob. They're going to get rid of him. They want to get rid of him. It's a bit hard. They don't know what Billy Bob knows. They're not really sure what Billy Bob's going to do or who he might talk to. So they've got to sort of destroy his reputation. They've got to destroy his reputation to such an extent where they can cut a deal with him, so that Billy Bob will do everything else. Maybe they'll sling him a few bucks, but they just want him to know that they can get at him at any time they want. They can get to him at any time they want, and they want to impress that upon him. So how do they go about it? They say, okay, we're going to nobble Billy Bob. We don't like his views on mass migration. He's starting to gain a popularity amongst the voters. Well, we got to stop this. We got to do something about it. Okay, well, what should we do? Well, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's broken no laws. He's a clean living guy. So we're going to have to make something up. Not a problem. We can do that. So they'll go to, they do, this is in the corporate world, the expense account is the first thing they go. First, that's the first go-to, the expense account. So they'll go through that forensically and, did Billy Bob sort of spend money on something he shouldn't have? And, what else? I mean, did he pay money to prostitutes, or did he, like where did the money go? And they'll match up receipts and so on. So they come back and go, no, it's all legit, because it might go to court, so they can't sort of fabricate too much. Okay, but we can pick him up for $5 for not having he had a cup of coffee at an airport somewhere and didn't have a receipt for it. We could nail him for that. No, that's not going to fly. Figure, okay, well, let's have a look at his online, internet, his online searching history. He's probably visited porn sites. Okay, have a go at that. Let's forensically go through his on. No, there's nothing there. No, he was no porn sites. Okay, fuck. All right then. Well, all right. Let's. What else can we do here? Look, we'll have to go to the the female staff and check if he said anything indiscreet or inappropriate, or made, say, crude jokes or something like that that they've heard. So let's do that. Just do it quietly, though. We don't want to sort of alert Billy Bob and let him know that we're after him. So discreet inquiries are made. No, he hasn't done it. Gee whiz, this is tough. Okay, we're going to have to either one of two things. We're going to have to insert people into his office, hand-picked people, and their job is to go there and try, work closely to him, with him, and try and get him to say something, do anything, provoke it if you like, do whatever. But the other thing is that you can just pay people or reward them in some way to bear false witness against him. Now, again, I've seen this so often now that it's almost, you sit back and have a yawn because you just watch it playing out, and this is the go-to. You did some. Now they can try to panic Billy Bob, and they, say the HR director or someone will be selected to go to him and, oh, do you have a, they'll go quietly. Do you have a moment, Billy Bob? Just a moment. Yeah. Look, we've had a very, very serious complaint here from Billie Jean that says that Billie Jean's lodged a formal complaint here that you behaved inappropriately towards her, and we have a witness, a male member of staff, very important, a male member of staff was a witness to this horrendous, horrific crime that you committed against Billie Jean here. So I just thought, you better understand here now. We don't have to take it further necessarily, but no one else really needs to know this, Billy Bob. But if you just want to quietly resign and just disappear and go away, then I would understand that. I would understand, and I would support you in that decision. Billy Bob, we're on your side, Billy Bob. We're trying to help you, Billy Bob, and that approach. See if they can panic and go, I'll quit. I'll be. Now remember, Billy Bob, we're going to keep this under wraps, but we'll do everything we can to keep it under wraps. But we don't want it to get out that you committed this heinous act. What heinous act, by the way? Oh, I'm not at liberty to say. We have to keep the confidentiality of the person. You understand that they're very, very upset. They're getting counselling because of the trauma that you Billy Bob put them. So they'll try and play that one. So there are various sort of ways. Now, none of those sort of things wouldn't work with someone like Rupert Lowe. He's been around too long, and he'd laugh at them. So they've got to try and, it's doubtful he would behave inappropriately. So they've got to get to people and say to them, look, there's a good job waiting for you. Or there's, a consultancy or something, they've got to get to them in some way. And, or it could be the reverse, your husband's actually engaged in some serious fraudulent activity. Now, we don't want to make that public, but if you say that, Mr. Lowe did this or said that or touched you on the knee or did, whatever, say whatever, anything we can use to go public with it to undermine him and get him evicted from the party or even get him, charged with something, anything. It doesn't matter. He could be charged with spitting on the sidewalk, but at least we can then use the line against him, convicted felon. So I would just suggest, this is only my view, of course. I mean, what do I know? But my view is that the whole thing is orchestrated and set up and stage managed to neutralise Mr. Lowe and to remove him as a player in the game of talking about migration, mass migration, and so on. Because the public in Britain are crying out for a champion to say, I'll do mass deportation. And that's the thing that most terrifies the globalist controlled establishment. So that's my view. And again, I've seen it play out just too many times in the corporate world, and just sort of seen how they do it and how they go about it and the steps and this to me at least, this business with Mr. Lowe in the UK, it has, in my view, all the hallmarks of a setup and a character assassination gig. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback Channel, and thank you for listening.